Ryan Calder's hands were covered in dust and splinters when the church bench gave way beneath him with a loud crack, right in the middle of the quiet sanctuary. "Oh, come on," he muttered, dropping his toolbox with a sigh. "You had one job." He wasn't a carpenter. Not professionally, anyway. But when you're a single dad scraping by on odd jobs and late-night shifts, you learn to fix things. Especially when your 6-year-old daughter needs a stable life, and the church is the only place that still feels peaceful. Ryan glanced up at the stained glass windows as if they might offer some encouragement. "One more week, God. Just help me make it one more week." "Careful," came a soft voice behind him. "That bench might be older than the church itself." He turned, brushing sawdust from his jeans. Standing by the doorway in a navy coat and black heels was a woman he hadn't seen before. She had long, dark hair swept into a low bun, and her eyes were sharp like she saw everything and judged nothing. "I'm trying to keep it alive," Ryan said, offering a dry smile, "but it's fighting back." She stepped closer, her heels echoing on the marble floor. "You're doing a good job. Most people would have tossed it out." "Well, can't afford to toss things out," he said, kneeling again. "Besides, my daughter likes sitting here during services, so fix it." The woman's eyes softened. "You have a daughter?" "Yeah, Callie," he said, glancing toward the back where she was coloring quietly on a pew. "She's 6, loves church because she thinks angels live in the ceiling." She smiled, something quiet and genuine. "That's beautiful." "I'm Ryan," he said, standing and wiping his hand on his jeans before offering it. "Savannah," she replied, shaking his hand firmly. "Just visiting." "Welcome, then." She hesitated before sitting on the edge of another pew. "Do you work here?" He laughed under his breath. "No, I work construction when I can find it. This is just volunteer stuff. Keeps me busy when Callie's at school." Savannah folded her hands in her lap, watching him work. "You're handy." Ryan shrugged. "I'm desperate, that's close enough." They both laughed, and for a moment, the silence between them didn't feel awkward. It felt natural. Callie came running over with her drawing. "Daddy, look, I drew you fixing the bench." Ryan crouched down beside her. "That's amazing, sweetie." Savannah leaned forward. "Hi, Callie, that's a beautiful drawing." Callie beamed. "Thanks, are you an angel?" Ryan chuckled. "She's not an angel, baby, she's just a visitor." Savannah smiled, but didn't correct her. Later, while Ryan packed up his tools, Savannah lingered near the entrance. "You're doing a good job raising her." He looked up surprised. "Thanks, I don't always feel like yam." "Well, you're here, you show up, that counts." He nodded, unsure why her words hit him harder than they should have. "You come here often." "Not really," she said. "I've been busy, needed somewhere quiet." "Well, this place is quiet, and cold, and occasionally full of splinters." She laughed. "Perfect." He watched her go, her heels tapping until the door shut behind her. 2 days later, Savannah showed up again. Ryan was balancing Callie on one hip while trying to screw the bench leg back in place. He looked up, surprised. "Back so soon?" Savannah smiled, couldn't stay away. She sat again, this time closer. Close enough to see the worry lines on Ryan's face. Close enough that his hands trembled a little more than usual. "You okay?" "Yeah, just got a call from Callie's school. Tuition's late again." Savannah hesitated. "She goes to private school." "Not by choice. It was my wife's idea, before she left. I'm just trying to keep Callie in a place that feels stable." Savannah blinked. "You're doing more than most would." He looked at her, really looked this time. She wasn't just kind, she was observant, composed, and for someone claiming to be just visiting, she had the posture of someone who carried weight someone used to making decisions. "What do you do, Savannah?" he asked. I run a company, she said simply. Ryan raised an eyebrow. What kind of company? She smiled. The kind that keeps me in meetings more than I'd like, but I needed a break, so I came here. He nodded. Well, hope you find what you're looking for. She looked at him, long and steady. Maybe it already did. Over the next week, Savannah kept coming back. Sometimes she brought muffins. Once she brought Callie a book. And every time she sat near Ryan, asked about his day, and listened like it mattered. He found himself looking forward to it. Then one afternoon, Savannah showed up in a sleek black car with tinted windows. The driver opened her door, and Ryan stared. Wait, you have a driver. Savannah laughed. Told you I run a company. You didn't tell me you owned it. I didn't think it mattered. He stood, arms crossed. So what are you, a CEO or something? Yes, she said simply. CEO of Plume Tech. We're based in the city. Ryan blinked. That's the tech firm that donated to the children's shelter last year. She nodded. That was me. He took a step back. So all this, you've been slumming it in a pew while running a multi-million-dollar company. Savannah's face didn't change. I came here to breathe, and then I met you. Ryan ran a hand through his hair. Savannah, I fix broken benches and drywall. I can't even afford Callie's school this semester. I didn't come here looking for someone with money, she said quietly. Came here and found someone real. He looked at her torn. I don't want to be a project, and I don't want Callie to be someone you pity. Savannah stepped forward, her voice low. She's not, and you're not. I didn't fall for you because you fix benches, Ryan. I fell for you because you show up when it's hard, because you're a good father, because you care. He stared at her, heart thudding. I'm not asking you to be anyone else, she said. I'm just asking you to let me in. Callie tugged on his sleeve. Daddy, are you mad at her? Ryan looked down at his daughter, then back at Savannah. No, he said finally, I'm not mad. Savannah smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. Then maybe, she said softly, you could let me take you and Callie to dinner. He hesitated. Callie gasped, like a fancy dinner. Savannah winked, very fancy. Ryan looked at her at Callie and then nodded slowly. All right, but I'm not wearing a tie. Savannah grinned. Deal. The restaurant was perched at the top of a skyscraper, its floor-to-ceiling windows revealing a glittering panorama of the city at dusk. The sky bled orange and violet, the lights below blinking to life like reflections of the stars above. Ryan stood awkwardly just inside the entrance, holding Callie's hand as she gawked at the crystal chandeliers and gold-accented columns. Savannah approached from the hostess stand, already having arranged everything. She wore a midnight blue gown that shimmered subtly under the soft light, her hair down in loose waves. Ryan looked at her as if she'd stepped out of a magazine, but said nothing. You made it, she said, offering Callie a gentle smile first. Ryan adjusted the collar of his gray button-up. We almost turned around at the valet, thought they were going to ask me for ID just to park. They didn't, though, Savannah murmured, leading them to a private booth tucked into a quiet corner. You're here, that's what matters. Callie slid into the velvet seat and looked at the gold-edged menu like it was a puzzle book. Daddy, they don't have chicken fingers, she whispered. I can ask the chef to make something special, Savannah offered. Ryan leaned closer to her across the table. You have a chef on call. No, she said lightly, but I know the owner. He let out a breath of disbelief and looked away before catching himself. I hope you're not expecting me to return the favor with a homemade casserole. She laughed softly. Let's just focus on surviving the appetizer. The server arrived, and Savannah ordered with confident ease. Ryan asked for the steak and immediately regretted it after seeing the price. Callie beamed when her special plate, arrived shaped like a bunny, complete with carrot ears. As they ate, Savannah turned to Ryan. "Have you ever thought about working for yourself?" He wiped his mouth with the cloth napkin. "Can't really afford the risk. I take what I can get." What if the risk was smaller, like someone helped with the startup costs? He set his fork down. "Are you offering me a loan over filet mignon?" "I'm asking if you've ever had the chance to imagine more." He stared at her, then leaned back. "You don't get it. I don't have a safety net. If I screw up, Callie pays for it." Savannah didn't flinch. "And what if you didn't screw up?" "I don't have the luxury of hypotheticals." Callie interrupted, eyes wide. "Miss Savannah, do you live in a castle?" Savannah smiled. "Not quite, but I do have a house with a big garden and a tree Callie would love to climb." Ryan's shoulders tensed. "She's not a stray cat you can adopt." Savannah's expression turned serious. "That's not how I see her, or you." He looked out the window, jaw tight. "You're used to people doing what you say. I'm not one of them." "I'm not asking you to be." She folded her hands on the table. "I'm just trying to understand you." He met her gaze, then stopped trying to fix me. The silence that followed was heavy, stretching until Callie yawned and rested her head on Ryan's arm. Savannah reached for her clutch. "Let me have the driver take you home. It's late." "We took the bus here." "You won't tonight." Ryan hesitated, then nodded once. "Fine, but just a ride, that's it." Outside, the car was already waiting, its interior glowing softly. Callie was asleep within seconds of settling into the back seat beside Savannah. Ryan sat on the other side, arms crossed, watching the city roll past. Savannah turned to him. "You're angry." "I'm confused," he said, "and tired." "I didn't mean to push." He let out a breath. "You're not the problem, the world is, you just live above it." "I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens. My father worked nights. My mom cleaned houses. I don't forget where I came from." He looked at her, surprised. "I built my company because nobody gave me a seat at the table," she continued. "So I made my own." The car pulled up outside Ryan's building. He opened the door but paused before stepping out. "I didn't ask for help." "I know." "But thank you," he added, almost reluctantly. She nodded, her voice soft. "You're welcome." He carried Callie inside without looking back. Savannah stayed in the car, staring out the window. She didn't tell the driver to leave. The next morning, Ryan found an envelope taped to his apartment door. Inside was a folded piece of thick stationery, no note, just a business card and a single sentence. "If you ever decide to build something of your own, I'll back it." He tossed it onto the table beside Callie's cereal bowl and stared at it while she munched on her toast. "She's not like other people," he muttered. Callie looked up. "Miss Savannah's nice. She smells like flowers." He gave her a faint smile and tousled her hair. "Yeah, she kind of does." Later that week, Ryan was offered a kitchen remodel job on the other side of town. He needed tools he didn't have and supplies he couldn't front. He stared at the business card for a long time before finally picking it up. But he didn't call. Instead, he went to the church. Savannah was already there, standing near the organ, speaking to the pastor. She turned when she saw him, her expression unreadable. "I didn't expect to see you here today," she said. "I didn't come to apologize," he replied. "I didn't ask you to." "I came to ask a question." He stepped closer. "Why me?" Savannah tilted her head. "Because you're the kind of man who shows up when it's hard, and because I'm tired of people who only show up when it's easy." He looked at her, then nodded slowly. "Okay." A flicker of hope passed across her face. "Okay." "I can't promise anything," he added, "but I'll take the job. if you're serious about helping me start something real. I am, she said, and I'll prove it. He folded his arms. This doesn't mean I'm moving into your world. No, she said, stepping forward. It means we build one together. He held out his hand. Then let's get started. The warehouse smelled like sawdust and fresh paint as Ryan flipped the lights on. The space was industrial, with tall ceilings and exposed beams, tucked behind a shuttered bakery on the outskirts of town. He'd signed the lease 3 days ago, the ink barely dry, the risk still sitting heavy in his chest. But the keys were in his pocket, and the check from Savannah had already cleared. She hadn't written a word on the memo line. No conditions, no reminders, just an amount large enough to buy tools, cover rent, and breathe. Ryan walked across the concrete floor, imagining workbenches along the walls, shelves of supplies, maybe a small office in the corner. For the first time in years, the future wasn't just something to survive, it was something he could shape. Still, he couldn't shake the weight of it. Starting something meant it could also fall apart. You didn't tell me it was this big, Savannah said behind him. He turned, surprised to see her in jeans and a leather jacket, her heels traded for boots. She looked completely out of place and perfectly at ease. I didn't know if you'd actually come, he said. You asked me to be part of it, she replied, so here I am. Ryan gestured toward the emptiness. It's not much yet. It doesn't have to be yet, she said, walking the perimeter. Vision doesn't need polish. He watched her run her hand along a beam. You really think this can work? I think you've got more skill in your hands than most people have in their entire companies, she said. You just need a foundation. He exhaled, then nodded. Then I better start building. Savannah turned to him. Have you thought about what kind of clients you want to take on? I don't want to chase corporate contracts, he said. I want to fix the homes people actually live in. The ones they can't afford to tear down and rebuild, just make better. She smiled. Then we'll make sure they find you. Ryan tilted his head. You already have a plan. I always do, she said, but it wasn't boastful. It was matter of fact. Just don't make me wear a suit, he said. No suits, she promised, but maybe a website. He groaned. Tech. Don't worry, I'll keep it simple, she said, then paused. What about Callie? Does she know? She knows we're starting something, he said. I didn't tell her about the money, just that I've got a workshop now and I'll be busy for a while. Savannah nodded. I have something for her. He frowned. You don't need to keep bringing her things. I didn't buy it, she said, pulling a small wrapped bundle from her bag. I made it during a retreat last year. It's nothing fancy. He took it and unwrapped a delicate wooden charm on a thin leather cord. A carved feather, polished and smooth. She'll love this. It reminded me of her, Savannah said, light but strong. He looked at her, the way her eyes flickered with something unspoken. You ever think about kids? I did, she said quietly. Before the job took over, then I blinked and a decade passed. You've still got time, he said. Maybe, she said, but I think it's less about time and more about the right people. Ryan folded the wrapping paper slowly. You meet a lot of people at your level. She shrugged. Plenty, but most of them talk to me like I'm a merger waiting to happen. And I talk to you like what? Like I'm someone who doesn't need to prove anything. He met her gaze and held it. You don't. The silence stretched, warm and weighty, until a knock echoed from the back door. Ryan walked over and opened it to find Miguel, an old friend from a previous job site, holding a clipboard and a box of drill bits. Got your order, Miguel said. Didn't expect this to be your place. Ryan grinned. It wasn't until last week. Miguel handed him the box. If you're hiring, let me know. I've got cousins looking for steady work. Ryan glanced back at Savannah. maybe sooner than I thought. That night, he made dinner at home while Callie colored at the table. She wore the feather charm proudly, twisting it between her fingers. "Miss Savannah's really nice," she said. "She is," Ryan agreed. "Do you like her?" He paused, spoon hovering over the pan. "What makes you ask that?" "You smile different when you talk to her." He couldn't help the quiet laugh. "Do I?" Callie nodded, very serious. "You should ask her to our school fair. Parents can bring guests." Ryan turned off the burner. "I'll think about it." But he already knew he would. 2 days later, Savannah met him at the school gym, dressed in a soft gray sweater and black jeans. She held Callie's hand like she'd done it 100 times. Ryan watched from a distance as they visited booths, sampled cookies, and laughed over the chaos of a balloon animal gone rogue. When she finally made her way over, he handed her a paper cup of lemonade. "You survived." "Barely," she said, brushing glitter from her sleeve. "But your daughter is a ruthless negotiator. She convinced a vendor to give her 2 bracelets for the price of 1. She gets that from her mom." Savannah looked at him. "You don't talk about her much." "There's not much to say," he replied. "She left when Callie was 2, said she couldn't do it. I've stopped trying to understand it." Savannah didn't ask more, just walked beside him as they watched Callie chase Bubbles across the field. Later, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Ryan pulled his truck alongside Savannah's car. She leaned against the passenger door, arms folded, watching him. "I've been thinking," he said. "Dangerous," she teased. "I want to do this right," he said. "The business, us, all of it." Her expression softened. "Then let's keep building." "But slowly," he added. "Not because I'm unsure, but because I want to get it right." Savannah stepped closer. "I'm not in a rush." He looked down at her, then slowly reached for her hand. "Then stay." She didn't answer with words, just threaded her fingers through his and stood still beside him as the sky turned to dusk. The soft hum of electric saws and the scent of freshly cut wood filled the workshop as Ryan ran his hand over a smooth pine plank. For the first time in years, the work felt like his not just a job, but a legacy. He glanced at the rows of organized tools mounted along the wall, the blueprints pinned beside the desk, the business license framed above the office door. His name was on everything now. Not because someone handed it to him, but because he'd taken the leap and someone had. The door creaked open and Miguel stepped in, wiping his palms on a rag. "The client's happy with the custom cabinets, said she's never seen anything like it." Ryan nodded, sliding the plank aside. "Good, we'll deliver tomorrow." Miguel hesitated. "You want me to call Savannah about the invoice, or are you handling that?" "I'll talk to her," Ryan said, setting down his pencil. "She's stopping by later anyway." Miguel gave a knowing glance before heading back out to the loading area. Ryan sat down at the desk and stared at the sketchbook Savannah had given him a few weeks earlier. He hadn't opened it until last night. Inside were blank pages and a note in the front corner, written in her careful handwriting, "For all the things you haven't built yet." The door opened again, this time lighter, more familiar, and Savannah stepped in, carrying a paper cup and a folder. "I brought you coffee," she said, placing it beside him, "and the final logo concepts." Ryan flipped through the pages. "They're good, simple, clean." "You sound surprised." "I just didn't expect to like any of them. I'm used to things being functional, not polished." Savannah leaned against the table. "You can have both." He looked up at her. "You always say that like it's obvious." She tilted her head. "Because it is, you just haven't had the chance before." There was a pause, not uncomfortable, but full, like both of them were weighing something unspoken. Ryan closed the folder. "How long are you staying in town?" Savannah hesitated. "I was going to tell you today. I've extended indefinitely. I moved into the lake house outside town." He blinked. That place with the iron gate. She nodded. It's quiet, and I needed a real change. Ryan stood. You're stepping back from Plume Tech. I appointed a COO last week, she said. I still own it, but I'm not running the day-to-day anymore. Why? He asked, voice low. Savannah met his eyes without wavering. Because I want something else now. His throat tightened. You're doing this for me. No, she said. I'm doing this for me, but yes, because of you and Callie, and what this place feels like when I'm in it. He reached for the edge of the table, grounding himself. It scares me, how fast everything's changing. I know, she said, but not everything has to move fast. We can slow down when we need to. He stepped forward. Then maybe it's time I stop pretending I don't already know how I feel. Savannah's breath caught. Ryan. I don't want this to be temporary, he said. Not the business, not us. I don't care that we're from different worlds. I care that when you walk into a room, I feel like I'm standing still until you speak. She blinked once, then twice, as if trying to stay composed. And I care that Callie draws you into every picture she makes, like you've always been here, he added. I care that when you're near her, she sleeps deeper at night. Savannah moved closer, her voice catching. I want to be here. Then stay, he said, all the way. She reached up, her hand brushing his jaw. I'm not going anywhere. That night, they sat on the steps outside the workshop. Callie curled between them with her head on Savannah's lap as she read aloud from a picture book. The stars blinked overhead, faint but steady, and Ryan leaned back on his hands, watching the two girls who had changed everything. I never pictured this, he said softly. Savannah glanced down at him. What did you picture? A quiet life, maybe a better job, but never this, he said. Never someone who'd walk into a church and flip everything upside down. She smiled, brushing a strand of hair from Callie's cheek. I didn't expect to stay. I didn't expect to fall. He looked at her, but you did. She nodded, hard. The next morning, Ryan stood in the middle of the workshop, adjusting the collar of a crisp white shirt. Callie tugged at his sleeve. Do you think she'll like it? She asked. She will, he said, checking his reflection in the dusty window. Miguel walked in, holding a bouquet. She's here. Savannah stepped inside, wearing a soft cream dress and flats, her hair pinned back with a tiny feather clip. She carried nothing but a small ring box. Ryan exhaled. You beat me to it. I thought I might, she said, opening the box to reveal a ring made of brushed gold, simple and strong. It's perfect, he said, his voice rough. You haven't even seen yours yet. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring made of walnut wood and silver crafted by hand, with a single word burned into the inside. Home. They exchanged vows in the middle of the workshop, surrounded by rows of tools and scrap wood and promise. Callie stood between them, holding both their hands, grinning so wide her cheeks hurt. Afterward, Savannah rested her head on Ryan's shoulder as they watched Callie dance around in the sawdust, twirling in slow circles. This isn't what I imagined, Savannah whispered. But it's exactly what I wanted, Ryan said. And for the first time in years, every part of his life finally fit. The morning sun filtered through the windows of the newly opened Calder & Co. workshop, casting golden light across the polished hardwood floors. Ryan stood behind the counter, reviewing orders for the week ahead. The buzz around town had grown quickly somehow. Word of mouth had done more than any ad could. Homeowners were stopping in, not just for repairs, but for custom work, trusting him with their living spaces. A few even brought pies or coffee, eager to chat and linger. The shop had become. Behind him, Savannah adjusted the placement of a small glass display case filled with hand-carved miniature houses. I was thinking we could offer these as part of the custom packages, she said. Like a keepsake. It's personal. Ryan looked up from the clipboard. You made those. She nodded. Last week, at night mostly, helps me think. They're beautiful, he said, stepping closer. You never stop creating, do you? It's easier now, she replied, when what I'm building actually means something. He kissed her temple, a quiet gesture, then turned as Callie burst in from the side door, her cheeks flushed from the walk back from her friend's house. Her backpack swung from one shoulder, and her ponytail bounced as she ran toward them. I got invited to a sleepover next weekend, she announced, dropping the bag with a thud beside the counter. Savannah crouched beside her. That sounds exciting. Will there be cake? Chocolate and a movie night. Then you'd better start picking your pajamas carefully, Ryan said, grinning. No superhero ones with holes in them. Callie narrowed her eyes. Those are vintage. Savannah laughed, a bright, unrestrained sound that filled the space. She gets that from you. Ryan raised a brow. Vintage sarcasm. No, the loyalty to what matters. Hours passed with the rhythm of a normal Saturday. Deliveries, a client meeting, a surprise visit from the mayor's assistant with a request for a new town square bench. By the time evening wrapped around them, the shop was closed, Callie asleep on the couch in the back room beneath a soft quilt, and a storm rolled in outside, thunder low and distant. Savannah sat beside Ryan on the old leather sofa they'd installed near the entrance, a place for clients to wait, or for the two of them to rest when the day wound down. She watched the rain streak down the windows, her hand laced with his. I never imagined I'd end up here, she said. Not just in this town, I mean here with a life that feels honest. Ryan glanced at her. You don't miss the city. I miss some of the noise, but not the emptiness. He leaned back. I used to think love was something for later, after I'd figured everything out, paid everything off, cleaned up every mess. And now I know it's the thing that helps you do all that, not the reward after. She turned to him, her expression soft but certain. I love the man you are now, not the polished version you thought you had to become. I love you, he said, no hesitation, no disclaimers. She smiled. That makes two of us. The storm outside intensified, the wind tapping against the windows like fingers on glass. Ryan pulled her closer, and they sat in silence, the kind that felt full rather than empty. The next weeks passed in a blur of purpose. The shop expanded. Ryan hired 2 more workers, both referrals from Miguel, and added a new wing for larger projects. Savannah took on consulting for a youth entrepreneurship program at the local community center, helping teenagers build business plans from scratch. She didn't miss the boardrooms. She liked this better, quiet impact, one life at a time. One evening, Savannah walked through the house they now shared. Ryan's modest place had been renovated room by room until it held both of their lives in every corner. She paused at the bookshelf, running her fingers along the spines until she reached a new photo frame. Inside was a picture Callie had taken on her school's art day. Savannah and Ryan, standing in front of the shop, both laughing mid-sentence. Ryan came up behind her. She's got an eye for it. She really does, Savannah agreed. She says she wants to be a photographer now. Last week it was a marine biologist. She can be both. He kissed her shoulder. You make her believe anything is possible. She already believed it, Savannah whispered. You just gave her the roots. I think we gave her a home. Months later, the town held a festival to celebrate local businesses. Calder and Co. was honored on stage for revitalizing a corner of the community that had once been forgotten. Savannah wore a deep green dress, the wind catching her hair as she stood beside Ryan. Callie held both their hands, squinting against the sun. When the mayor handed Ryan a plaque, he didn't step forward alone. He pulled Savannah with him, and the crowd cheered louder when they saw the 3 of them together. At the after-party, Callie danced with her classmates, twirling under string lights. Ryan watched her from the edge of the crowd, a drink in hand, his other arm around Savannah's waist. "This," he said, "this is more than I ever thought I'd have." She rested her head against his shoulder. "You built it." "With your help." "With your heart," she corrected. The music faded into something slower, softer. He pulled her close and they danced, not caring who watched, the night air warm around them. Later, when Callie was asleep in the backseat and they were parked outside their home, Ryan didn't move to get out. He just looked at Savannah. "You know," he said, "I was never planning on falling in love again. I wasn't planning on staying." "But we did," he murmured. She leaned in, brushing her lips against his, "And we always will." He kissed her long and deep until the world outside the car disappeared. There was no company to run, no bills to worry over, no storms to weather. Just them. Just love. Inside, they tucked Callie into bed, then curled together on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, the fireplace flickering low. They didn't need promises. They'd already made them in work and in words, in care and in patience, in knowing when to hold on and when to leap. And in that quiet, steady rhythm, they found everything they'd ever wanted. Together, always,